Hello, my name is Rafaela Salta-Gerald, and I am an Early Childhood Unified Education major at Fort Hays State University. And I am going to talk about creating a supportive, positive, and diverse classroom. So how do we go about doing that? It is clear to me that humans are as much similar as they are different. We have a lot of similarities. We're into routines, but we differ in the way we learn, in what we want to learn, what our interests are. We differ on many different scales while being human. So first I'm going to go ahead and talk about positive behavior supports and how we can implement positive behavior supports in the classroom from the very beginning of school year, from the first day on throughout the school year if we need to. So we're going to go with what are positive behavior supports, and those are you have to find a way to give students choices. You can't just yell at them one time and expect them to listen. They're getting what they want. If you just throw them in timeout or make them exit the group activity, that's what they want. So you have to give the students choices. And you can either play with the magnetic letters when it's center time, or you can play the letter matching game. But you cannot just go and play whatever you want on the computer, or go to your desk, or sit in the safety seat, thinking chair, and not do anything. So we got to give the students choices. We also have to be flexible when we're dealing with the challenging behaviors, because this is all new, especially in the beginning. And so we have to give them time to accept what their consequences are going to be, accept what the choices are in the classroom. And so we need to be flexible with them. And that might also mean a little bit of negotiating. Say, like, you give them the choices, and then if that's not what they want to do, maybe it's during the center time and they're supposed to be practicing their letters. Well, maybe you can ask them to practice their letters for a few minutes, and then they can have free time to draw in their journal with whatever they want to draw, or write whatever they want to write. And then they need to go back to practicing their letters or their sight words, things of that nature. So we need to negotiate. We got to be a little bit flexible if we can when we're dealing with our extreme behaviors. And then we also need to be clear about the consequences. Not only do we need to do that on a class-wide basis whenever we're dealing with behavior and the rules and the expectations, but when we're dealing with this particular behavior with a particular student, we need to let them know, when you act out, do this, start yelling, or walk away from the activities, refuse to do activities, not follow instructions. If you do not follow my instructions, I'm going to give you a warning. It's your first warning, and then maybe a couple minutes later they get a second warning. If they still don't want to follow instructions, then they know that they are going to have to go and sit in a separate area from their friends, or maybe from the fun activity, until they are ready and they can handle themselves. And it's going to take time. You have to give new strategies time to work, obviously. It maybe take a couple weeks, but after a few weeks, you might find that behavior gets better, and you have to warn them less and less often. Students are going to see better days. They're going to start feeling better about themselves. And the last part, I put a question mark about give an apology, make the student give an apology, because I am not sure if I agree with that. I don't know if they have to give apologies. But maybe if we're dealing with special needs students or learning disabled students, or students with learning disability, they may have to learn that their actions do have consequences, and it's disrespectful to the class and to me as the teacher whenever they are not listening to instructions or they are misbehaving. They need to know that those have consequences, and it's not very nice, basically. So I guess I could see giving an apology would be a good thing for students who are learning to, deal with their consequences and get feedback, and be social in a positive environment, and be positive in a social environment. So we're going to go on from the positive behavior supports to the classroom management. The positive behavior supports goes right along with classroom management. It's all under this big umbrella, classroom management, but it all works together. The big umbrella doesn't help. There are holes in it. I mean, we have to get it down to its foundations. So whenever you're looking at classroom management, you're looking at this positive behavior supports throughout the day, but you're also looking at the rules and expectations for the entire class. Our students should be helping us make the rules. They should know what their expectations are during transitions in the hallway, during lunch, while the teacher is speaking, while another student is speaking. And they should participate in creating these rules, so that way they are invested in what it's going to take to have an amazing experience at school. So then when we get into the rules and expectations, we get down to the physical environment, and we look, is it organized where students can work in small groups, work independently, get a small group instruction with the teacher. They need to have that area. Maybe there's a technology area. Is the physical environment, does it have headphones in the technology area when other students are typing or working with games so they don't distract the other students who are trying to work independently? There's all these different things you need to think about the physical environment. Is it comfortable? Is the classroom comfortable? Do the students want to be there? Or is it a cold, clinical type environment? Or do they feel very comfortable to learn? They have a comfortable place to go read. They feel comfortable talking with the teacher and their other classmates if they have a question. So the physical environment is very important, and the routines. Once the school gets started, the students will start to learn the routines, but at first it's routines, and it has to be consistent because that's what helps the student feel secure. And then when we get down into it at the core, we have the families, the students, and the teachers all working together to make this dream work. And so the families, they need to know kind of what's going to be expected of their student. They need to know what your discipline policies are, the consequences if the students aren't following directions. You know, if they're going to be receiving calls home, which they should be receiving a lot of positive calls home as well, just as many as maybe negative calls home or for discussing negative behavior. But we want to encourage positive behavior. You know, talk to the parents or the guardians and family members about all the amazing things the child does do, while going into also maybe talking about what they can improve upon. And the students should be getting that just the same positive feedback along with improvement tips and help recommendations. And we all need to be communicating with the teacher, because in order to help our students, we have to know our families and get to know them, and the families can get to know us and trust us with their students, and creating an amazing classroom. So then next we have to create a plan. So what are you going to do to implement the positive behavior supports in your classroom management? You have to observe your classroom. You have to know what the students are doing. You have to know what this particular student is doing during a certain time. When are they doing it? What are the teachers doing at the time? You know, when is the undesirable behavior happening? Is it happening every day after lunch? Do they get riled up after recess? As a teacher, you might have to change what you're doing in your classroom in order to help these students not have these incidences. Give them time to settle down, or maybe they need to talk. Maybe they need a fun activity to transition them back into, you know, the school activities, whatever's happening, and the frequency of when it's happening, so that way you know what is happening, so you can then make a plan. Make a plan. And so once you observed and you know what's happening, you need to talk with other teachers. You need to go back into your books or some websites to find out what you can do to help that student be successful in a positive way in your classroom. And then you're going to have to do it, and you're going to have to know how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. And then once you figure out your plan, giving warnings, the student's going to give warnings, and the student knows what the plan is going to be, they know their consequences, then you can put your plan into action. And you have to stick with the plan. You have to give it time. After a few weeks, how is it going? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Is it the same? You may have to change some other things in the classroom and revise your plan if you need to, and go back and figure out what you need to do to help that student. So then we're going to get into arranging the instructional environment, and this is going to be a wide range of activities you're going to have to mix it up. It's not going to be constantly talking to the students in front of a large group like a lecture. You're going to have some large group instruction where you let everybody know what is expected. Then you get maybe to small group instruction. Either they're working in small groups together and you give them individual tasks, or you re-explain what they need to do, their objectives and their goals. Maybe they're confused or they have a question. There's like independent learning. You're going to have students that learn better in large groups, working with partners. Maybe they work better on their own. And you're going to have to explore all these different ways to provide instruction so that students get the layered effect of what they need. They may need one-on-one cooperative learning where the students are learning together and they're trying to figure out maybe some research about bugs, whatever it might be. You also may have some students that are a little more advanced, and if you have another student struggling, you can maybe pair them up and kind of see if the more advanced student can re-explain it to the student who's having some questions. Because sometimes you'll find that students love to help and they love to show off their knowledge. And so it just helps that student build that foundation of their knowledge, and they know what they're talking about because they can repeat it. They can help another student understand it a little better. So you have all that. And then you're going to get into that's when the physical environment is very important. You need to make sure you have your desks grouped together, a place for large instruction, and a place for one-on-one time, a place where a student can go and get away. Again, we're promoting pro-social behavior, and we're using evidence-based practices. So one evidence-based practice that I read about in our textbook is asset. Now, I did not get a chance to implement this with students. I work with about 5 students total, maybe. There's supposed to be about 20 in the class, but I only see about 3 at a time, and they're always working individually in the special needs classroom. But I have observed the special education teachers and paraprofessionals implementing the asset practice by teaching students to give positive feedback and negative feedback, helpful feedback, something that is not in a rude way. They help their students think about, was that rude to say? Was that nice to say? How that might make the other person feel. Were you really helping that person, or were you trying to hurt that person? I have seen them do peer teaching where there might be a student in a higher grade level in the same resource room and a student at a lower level, and the student at the higher level reads their story to this younger student, and they ask questions to the younger student, and it helps them work it all through their mind. So they're working on having conversations, they're working on providing positive and negative feedback, they're working on solving their own problems. So it's all been really great to watch. Greetings and things of that nature, just initiating, just saying hello, how are you? These are some of the basic social behaviors that some students may lack on a very basic level, and I've seen the teachers implementing that by introducing the new guest, Mrs. S, Miss Saltagerald, to the class, to other students, or introducing themselves to me, because that is very important to be able to speak clearly and be comfortable with who you are and say, I am Gary, I'm in 2nd grade, and I love dinosaurs. So it's been really great to watch these specific goals, skills, learning social skills being implemented in the classroom. And then finally, we get into the social emotional issues with students, and these are the most serious ones. So if you're thinking of RTI, it would probably be, this was tier 3 intervention where we have an incredibly aggressive student, maybe a suicidal, incredibly depressed student. Maybe they're being socially alienated from the other students, from their peers, or maybe they're alienating themselves. So we need to get in and figure out how we can help these students on the most important level. And they might be just having communication difficulties, and we can teach them how to handle their feelings and be accepted by everyone and their peers and feel comfortable and have positive self-concepts. So this is my presentation on creating a supportive and positive diverse classroom, and I thank you for listening.